Day 9 of the fast. We're back at the White House with Carmen Trotta. Carmen, what else has been going on today with the Witness Against Torture project here?
Well, we've had a very, very busy week for people who are fasting. Lots of events, and I think things took on a very different flavor as of last night, as we got the news that it seems quite likely that there is a whistleblower regarding the 3 suicides, or so-called suicides, from June of 2006 that we had heard about at Guantanamo. And it seems much more likely that, as was suspected by certain people, that those were not suicides. They were something closer to murder, or possibly having tortured people to death. And that the whistleblower who had written an article that I believe is in the Atlantic Monthly.
It's in Harper's.
It's in Harper's, I'm sorry. Came out initially in Harper's, and I'm sure will be news over the next couple of days, is that there was a black site on Guantanamo, which I know has long been suspected, where those 3 men were at very least severely tortured and died, and were subsequently put back into cells. And indeed, we have a banner here saying to release Sheikh Amir, because it is thought by many at this point that the reason he is the only British resident who has not been released is because he was also tortured with them. He, however, didn't die, and he remains at Guantanamo.
So he would be somebody who would testify to what happened.
Who could testify to what happened. And so in terms of our constant asking for transparency and accountability that we have not had at all from the Obama administration, the quest for that becomes ever more fervent. And then today also, a bunch of us went to what many, in our group considered the center of everything, the heart of the military-industrial complex. We went to the Pentagon and watched as hundreds, indeed thousands of workers passed by us into one of the entrances at the Pentagon.
And what were you guys doing down there?
Well, once again, standard for us is the orange jumpsuits and hoods. We got on to an area where you're allowed to publicly protest, and it's an area that the workers are channeled through scanners. In fact, when we got there, they began demanding that all of the workers, they backed up the line because they began demanding that all the workers show ID, fearing that we would infiltrate with someone who was looking to do civil disobedience, and create a civil disobedience scenario on the spot there, which we had no intention of doing. But we had essentially the setup that you see before you in front of the Pentagon, workers very early in the morning, 7:30 in the morning, as they were pouring into the Pentagon. And the silence was punctuated by the names of people who were detained and tortured at Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan and at Guantanamo. And it was in a very fitting setting, grimly offered and grimly received at the Pentagon. And so it's an unusual space that we're now occupying. We have plans for further events this week, and we are in 9 days of a fast. Every morning we have been reflecting on the realities that we're trying to deal with. Our reflections have taken us very far, I think, in terms of compassion on the one hand for all elements of the human, in a genuine sense that there does need to be a change of consciousness, and that change of consciousness needs to recognize the fact that, as people have been saying, torture is universally and eternally wrong.